The Old Man and the Sea, Part 25. He looked across the sea and knew how alone he was, but he could only see the prisms in the deep dark water, and the line stretching ahead, and the strange undulation of the calm. The clouds were building up now for the trade wind, and he looked ahead and saw a flight of wild ducks etching themselves against the sky over the water. Then blurring, then etching again, he knew no man was ever alone on the sea. Etching is a kind of printing technique. Of course, it's not quite common nowadays because we have much easier ways to print things. I don't know if you are familiar with carving, right? So what is carving? You get a board, a wood board, right? And then you just get a knife or any other tool, and you take parts of it. I would carve a heart, and then I can print my heart. Of course, if I want the shape of a heart, I would have to carve the surroundings of it. I would have to carve everything else, but the heart, then the paint would be here on the heart, because the heart would be taller, on the surface than the rest, and I would be able to print just like a stamp, okay? Well, this is digression, but this is carving. Etching, how is the etching process done? Again, imagine you get a board, but now it's not a wood board, it is a metal board, alright? So you're going to get that board, you're going to cover it with wax, which is resistant to acid. You will understand why that's important. So now I'm going to draw on the wax, As I draw, I take some of the wax out. Okay, then I get this board, I dip it in acid, and I leave there for some time. By the way, guys, nowadays we don't use acid anymore, and by the way, I've also left some videos about etching and about the trade wind, which I haven't talked yet, but I'm going to mention a little bit. Please, if I forget to do so, comment there and help me there. Well, going back to our etching, so I would draw, and then I would submerge this board in acid. The acid would eat the parts that are not protected by the wax. By the way, guys, the etymology of etch, it means literally give to eat. Give to eat. I think it's very nice to try to remember the process. Okay, and then after some time I would take the board again, clean it of the wax, and then I would spread paint on it, clean it again, so just the creases, the acid has eaten, are full of paint. And then I'm going to press that against paper, and when I take them apart, I'm going to have a nice picture here, right? So the birds would etch themselves against the sky, so it would be very clear to see them, and then they would blur again. Blurred vision, like if you start crying and then you see everything like that, or if you wear glasses and suddenly you take them off. One more thing, trade wind, guys. It's a specific kind of wind. I've also posted a video there, a link of a video there about the trade wind, alright? But for our purposes here, and if you don't want to watch that video, just remember that it's a constant wind, It's a wind you can count on. You know where it comes from and where it goes to, alright? Why is that important for our story? Because of the same reason why currents are important for our story, right? We have to understand that the old man is not just out in the sea, in the middle of the ocean, and there won't be any way he can come back, right? He will have to row all the way, or if there is no wind, maybe he will starve to death, That's not the point for a person as experienced as the old man. He knows exactly what kind of wind he can use. He knows that chances are very high that the wind will come at a certain time. He knows what currents he can use. Remember, he has mentioned that before, and he will mention it again. When he's thinking about his way back. He's thinking about his way back, and then he thinks about the current that is going to take him. He thinks about how fast the fish is swimming because the fish is outside the current. So all of that knowledge is implicit here. Okay, so we won't think that he's just playing lottery, right? So if he doesn't catch the fish, or if he's too far out, maybe he'll die there. It's not as dramatic as that. All right? Of course, regarding dying in the ocean from hunger. Okay, so the birds would etch themselves very clear and then blur again. He knew there was alone on the sea. Okay, he thought of how some men feared being out of sight of land in a small boat, and knew they were right in the months of sudden bad weather. But now they were in hurricane months, and when there are no hurricanes, the weather of hurricane months is the best of all the year. If there is a hurricane, you always see the signs of it in the sky for days ahead, if you are at sea. They do not see it ashore, I mean on the land, right? They do not see it ashore because they do not know what to look for, he thought. The land must make a difference too, in the shape of the clouds, but we have no hurricane coming now. He looked at the sky and saw the white cumulus built like friendly piles of ice cream, and high above were the thin feathers of the cirrus against the high September sky. Look, cumulus and cirrus are two kinds of clouds, all right? The first one is the one that it looks like cotton candy, It's very fluffy, and you have piles of it. The narrator here compares them to ice cream. And the cirrus is the one that is really thin, I've posted, of course, in our Quizlet list, I've posted 4 pictures of those clouds for us to, be able to admire them. Of course, everyday people don't use them a lot, I guess, but for the old man it's quite important to know, to differentiate one cloud from the other, because one cloud shows you something, the other cloud shows you another thing. Just talk to a pilot, for example. Talk to a pilot. They will know for sure the name of clouds, because for them they're important. And that makes me remember, I think there is an Eskimo language. They have 54 words for snow, something like that, And of course, some people go very far saying that they perceive more snow than we do, and they have a different mind. I think that's going too far, but at least there's something very interesting. They perceive in the sense that they pay more attention to snow. Because probably if you are traveling on your card and one kind of snow will take you faster, the other kind of snow will get the dogs tired, so you have to take all of that into account. Another kind of snow may be dangerous, and etc. And because of that, because that's your deal, you have to make words for more specific concepts, right? Think about, I don't know. I don't think the comparison is very nice because we're talking about something natural, but somebody who understands about computers, for me, what do I understand about computer? There is, the screen, there's the hardware and the software, and apparently there are some chips there inside. Imagine how many names of things I'm missing here, Of course, in that case, those things were created, but I don't know if I plant and we have this general term for plants, undesirable plants, that is weed. Yeah, weed. Weed, by the way, is not just marijuana. Weed is undesired plants. So you have your garden, and whatever comes up that you don't wish to come up is weed. But I don't know, imagine you work with specific kinds of plants, so you're going to know the name of each one of them. So even though they look very alike, you know that this one is more resistant and this one dies more easily, and etc, etc, right? So the point here is the need makes us create more words, you know? Not the words shape the way we see the world, right? Well, I'm going too far. You know, when I stop like that, guys, get used to it. When I stop like that, you know, my mind is trying to digress even further, you know, and then I'm trying to control it to see how much, you know, how much can I say to you before going too far. And I've already gone too far, so let me go back. Light brisa, he said, better weather for me than for you, fish. His left hand was still cramped, but he was unknotted it slowly. Okay, so I think you know that. So this is a knot, okay? And now I am undoing the knot, or of course I am unknotting. How is it possible that he's unknotting his hand? Because his hand is cramped and he's trying to open it. Where am I? His left hand was still cramped, but he was unknotting it slowly. I have a cramp, he thought. It is a treachery of one's own body. It is humiliating before others to have diarrhea. From ptomaine. Ptomaine? You don't pronounce that P there. It's a kind of substance you have in food when it starts to rot, and of course that causes diarrhea, right? So it is humiliating before others, like in front of others, when you are with others, to have diarrhea from ptomaine. Ptomaine poisoning, or to vomit from it. But a cramp, he thought of it as calambre, humiliates oneself, especially when one is alone. So it is embarrassing, it is humiliating to have diarrhea in front of others, and of course, but when you are by yourself, what is really humiliating is calambre, which is of course cramps. And then I want you guys to think, what is the relation between diarrhea and cramp? You know, why would a cramp be as humiliating as diarrhea? You know? So maybe you should stop the video and try to answer to yourself. I hope you have tried that. I don't know, something that comes to my mind is that in both of them you don't have control over your body. You know, your body is stronger than you are. And that's quite humiliating, right? And of course there is a whole universe, a whole, how can I say, moral universe if you go in that direction, right? How many things we do that our body tells us to do that we cannot control. Are those things humiliating? Because diarrhea certainly is, right? And for the old man, a cramp is very humiliating as well. Next paragraph. If the boy were here, he could rub it for me he could rub it for me and loosen it down from the forearm, he thought. But it will loosen up. Then, with his right hand, he felt the difference in the pull of the line before he saw the slant change in the water. So first he could feel it, and then the slant changed, right? Slant. Then, as he leaned against the line and slapped his left hand hard and fast against his thigh, he saw the line slanting slowly upwards.